Today is a special day, not only because it's a Friday in February, but because today marks the beginning of That Nintendo Show, a YouTube passion project dedicated to all things Nintendo, including the upcoming Nintendo Switch 2, or Super Nintendo Switch, as I like to call it. So welcome friends, new and old, to your new home for all of the latest news and more related to Nintendo. My name is Mitch. You may have seen me around on the internet before. I previously was the host of Next Gen Newsweek, and I'm low-key famous on TikTok, but that's a story for another day. I wanted to make this introduction video just to get the ball rolling here and give you all a sample of what's to come for this channel. As I said, this channel is all about Nintendo. I'm a product of the N64 era. I learned to read by playing Super Mario 64, and once I played Ocarina of Time for the first time, I became a massive Zelda fan. Here we are 25 years later, and that passion for Nintendo has only gotten stronger. Now we find ourselves on the cusp of a new generation of Nintendo hardware and software, and who better to celebrate the next generation with than someone just as passionate about it as you are. As of the time of recording this introduction, we actually don't know much about the Nintendo Switch 2. There are plenty of rumors about what's coming, but nothing is concrete as of yet. While there's going to be plenty of videos about the actual information once it hits the internet, I'm going to go ahead and just address all of the leaks and rumors here and get it out of the way. I don't want to make a habit of making 6,000 videos every time a new leak comes out, you know? So real quick, before I close out, let's just address what rumors say about the Nintendo Switch 2. I think the big one that people have latched onto is that the Switch 2 is going to have an 8-inch display, and they're not doing OLED again. They're going back to using the LCD screens like we've seen on the original Switch and the Switch Lite, which personally I think is a really big bummer because the OLED looks incredible. But it is supposed to be a 1080p display, so at least the resolution on the handheld is going to get better. They haven't said much about what's going on with the docked mode, but people want 4K. I don't think we need 4K though. I think that they should just prioritize stable frame rates and 1440p. If they want to go 1440 and upscale it to 4K, whatever. But if you look at Mario Odyssey, think about how impressive that game looks now. So I think it mostly comes down to what TV people have, but I would say that a safe bet would just be super high-res 1080p with HDR is more likely what they're going to go with, but I would be happy to be wrong and then they go with 4K instead. The next one is that the storage on the Switch 2 is still going to be 64 gigs, which I shake my head at because 64 gigs is just not enough. You're going to have to buy an SD card. Thankfully though, compared to when the Switch 1 came out, SD cards have gotten stupid cheap. I think I remember paying I want to say $35-$40 for a 128 gig micro SD card when the Switch 1 came out, and now for $50 or $60 you can buy a 512 gig. But the only problem with next generation hardware is that the games take up more storage, so it might be worth looking into a 1 terabyte SD card whenever the system finally comes out. I think the big one, and this is also just a massive selling point though, is that the Switch 2 is going to be backwards compatible with the Switch 1. I can't imagine Nintendo leaving behind all of the Switch 1 people, especially as it's on track to become the best-selling system of all time. What's up in the air is about how it's backwards compatible. There has been no confirmation about it having a cartridge slot similar to the Switch 1. So does that mean that if it doesn't have one, you can only bring over your digital library to the next system? Which in my case is fine because I buy all my games digitally. But for the people who are sticklers for physical media, they might potentially get left behind if there's no cartridge slot. Again, it's a rumor. We don't know for sure either way. This is one that I've kind of latched onto personally, and is that the system is supposed to launch at $400, and I think there's going to be a higher tier model too. Think about when the Wii U came out. They had two models. They had the basic and the deluxe. And back then it was the basic one was white, came with 8 gigs of storage, and the deluxe one was black, came with 32, which is just archaic in today's format. And it came with some other stuff too. I would think that what they would do is do the basic and deluxe thing again, but the deluxe one comes with more memory on it. Maybe comes in an exclusive color. Maybe that's where the OLED comes in. Maybe they are going to launch an OLED and an LCD one at the same time. And finally, the games, which is, let's be honest, that's what most people really care about. It's just the games for the system. Supposedly, there's a new 3D Mario and Metroid Prime 4 are going to be there at launch. Metroid Prime 4 has been in development since the original Switch came out, so that one makes the most sense. New 3D Mario game, it should be there. It's been almost 7 years since Mario Odyssey came out. There needs to be a massive Mario game there at launch, and it's not going to be like when the Switch came out with Breath of the Wild there, because we got Tears of the Kingdom last year, so they have to have one of their massive games going to be there at launch. Potentially a new Pokemon game, it might be a remake of Black and White, it could be a new entry in Let's Go, but that's not concrete yet. But that's pretty much all we know for now. So anyway, thank you so much for watching. I'm really excited for where this channel's headed in 2024 and beyond, and I hope you're just as excited about the Switch 2 as I am. If you want to see any of my other work, check out the links in the description. Subscribe so you never miss a new video, leave a like and comment below with what you're most excited to see with Nintendo's next system. Finally, check out my friends Richard and Chase's podcast, the Pixelmen Podcast, to stay up to date on gaming news from all current platforms, and where you can occasionally hear my angelic voice as well. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.